So Sarah, we're around about the time of year that marketing leaders are looking at their strategy, planning and budgeting. What advice would you have for anyone that's starting that process now?
Well, I think the first thing is always start with the business strategy. What are the business objectives? What does the business want to achieve? Where do they see the growth coming from? Because that's the opportunities that you need to be able to exploit with your marketing. So start with that business strategy, really understand the business objectives and what the business wants to achieve. And that's when you can start to look at how can marketing support that happening. So before you even touch a budget spreadsheet, make sure you're really clear on where the business wants to go forwards, where the business sees those opportunities, and whether you have the right resources, whether that's financial or team, in place to be able to deliver and support that. So then you can start to look at your marketing strategy. How do you want to go forward? How can you support the business in the best possible way? And then from that, you can start to look at your plan and then you can budget around it. But before you do any of that, you really need to look back as well and say, okay, what did we do last year? What worked? What didn't work so well? What could we have done better? What could we have done more of? So have a real look at your marketing activity and say, okay, what are we going to stop, start and continue? The other thing is to look at your audience and look at your channels and do a bit of a sense check, a reality check. Are you really where your audience are? Where are they now? If you've suddenly decided that you want to go after a different audience you see a huge opportunity with, where are they? Because you need to be where they are to speak to them. And you might find that actually you can slim down the number of channels you're using and stop spreading your costs so far and really focus in on some that are going to give you the most impact.
So talking about costs, what are the kind of benchmarks that people should be looking at?
So it's really key to look at what your business's revenue is and then to look at what your marketing spend is as a percentage of that revenue. If you're in a high growth business, most high growth businesses, and this sounds like quite a wide bracket, but they will be looking to spend between 6 to 12% of their turnover on their marketing. And that's because they're really trying to get that momentum. As a bare minimum, you should be spending 5% of your turnover on your marketing. And that is both your salary costs and your actual marketing activity spend. But there should be, a decent split between salary and marketing activity spend. You need to have the right team in place to be able to deliver that activity. And whether that's the team or whether you outsource some of that to people like Sagacious GOAT or other suppliers, you need to get that balance right. You also need to look at what you're doing that is around brand building and that longer term view and what is around this financial year and your lead generation and what you want to achieve right now.
Okay, so as the business year goes on, we know things change and shift. How do you build in flexibility into that marketing budget?
So I think it's really important to go back to some very basic accounting of what are your fixed costs and what are your variable costs. And it's really important to think about that from a marketing point of view. Gone are the days, those great old days where you might have been able to have a contingency line in your budget. It just doesn't happen anymore. So you've got to be really clear about what you need to spend and how you're going to spend that. So I think it's really important to keep an eye on your budget and keep forecasting forward all the time, looking at what you're spending each month and figuring out, can we deliver this activity? Are we actually going to make this spend this month? Or is it going to push into another month? So you can start to get some flexibility in your budget. It's also really important to look at the platforms you've got. There's been such a lot of growth in MarTech and people are using lots and lots of platforms. Can you save some money? Are some of them doing the same things? Are there ways that you could be more efficient and maybe use a platform that might be a new spend, but it frees up some other spend for you? So it's really kind of analysing where your money is going and making sure you're getting the best bang for your buck.
So we both know very well from previous experience that, particularly in professional services firms, marketing budgets get a lot of scrutiny. How can marketing leaders demonstrate return on investment?
Well, the first thing I would say is, when you're doing your marketing strategy, plan and budget, make sure you set clear KPIs on what you want to achieve. That's the first thing. The second thing is, how do you set those KPIs in a way that can show return on investment? Because people say, well, brand building, how do you measure that unless you've got certain things in place that cost quite a lot of money to put in place, etc. Well, the main thing is align your sales to your marketing, whether it's your professionals within your business that go out selling or whether you have a business development and sales team. Make sure you're aligned and make sure that your KPIs reflect one another. So when you are doing campaigns or you are doing a project to go out to market after a new sector, a new audience, make sure you're really clear on what's the size of the prize, what's our right to play, and what does good look like. If we win X% of that, what does that number look like? And align with the business to be able to show that return on investment. So the first thing is having the right KPIs. The second thing is aligning to sales. And the third thing is to keep reviewing your spend and making sure you're getting the most for your money. So in the same way as we're well aware that marketing budgets get a lot of scrutiny, we're also aware of how stretched teams are and how stretched leaders are, still trying to deliver the day-to-day, then trying to think about what their strategy is, then analyse what's happened in the past and audit that and see what's working and what's not working can be really difficult. And so having a fresh pair of eyes to come in and have a look at it can also really help you build a much more compelling business case as to why you need the spend you need and what you're going to do with it and what it's going to achieve for the business.
And that, of course, is where Sagacious GOAT comes in. Thanks, Sarah. That's been really interesting. So if you'd like help creating or reviewing your marketing strategy or building your marketing plan and budget, please get in touch.